It's summertime here in Austin, Texas. That means it's going to be 95 degrees plus outside today, and the kids are out there playing in that heat. Sometimes that can cause some problems. So we've brought in Nurse Mark here into the studio to talk to us a little bit about heat-related illnesses. Nurse Mark, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, Clay.
So what do we need to be on the lookout for with kids out in the heat? What are the danger signs? We know kids are getting in trouble out there in the warm weather.
Well, one of the first things that might happen out in the playground or out in the athletic fields or simply in the backyard are heat cramps. So that's when you have muscle cramps, often in the calves, sometimes in the larger muscle groups, and that's a sign of dehydration. We've got to take care of that.
Okay, and so things go up the scale from there. That's the first stage. What's more advanced troubles?
So the second stage would be what we call actual heat exhaustion, and realize that all this is due to dehydration. Our body is very good at regulating its own temperature through perspiration, through sweating. And when that mechanism isn't working properly, kids get in a little trouble, and heat exhaustion is going to be they're really hot, lethargic, sweating profusely. They might feel a little nauseous. They just don't want to interact. They don't want to involve, and that's a sign that they're dehydrated and having some heat problems.
Okay, and is that the point at which you want to take the kids to the hospital, or what's the point? When do things get really serious?
So the worst thing that can happen to a kid out there is what we call heat stroke, and that's when our body's mechanism to cool itself down is no longer working. So when the body temperature gets up to over 104 degrees, the sweating mechanism will stop. And so when the child stops sweating, that's a very, very bad sign. Or if they start feeling delirious, if they have seizures, you've got to call 911 or get them immediately to the hospital.
So clearly that's the point at which you're headed to the hospital. How about that? My grandmother used to call it, she called it heat frustration. Do you know what heat frustration is? Is that like, it just makes you cranky because there's like not a parking space and it's hot?
I don't know if that's related to dehydration or estrogen.
Okay. Dude. Okay, so you got these kids suffering from this dehydration. What are the best ways to treat heat-related illness?
Well, two things to do. One is to rehydrate and the other is to get out of the heat.
Okay.
So get the child into the shade, cool area inside if there's air conditioning, fan them down, just cool them off. Use one of those misters. You can actually drip water on them, cold washcloths, and rehydrate.
So what's the best way? Just straight water, or what? Got to get these kids rehydrated clearly, so maybe that's the best way?
Well, when you're sweating, you're actually getting rid of more than just water. You're also getting rid of what we call electrolytes. That means salts, things like sodium and potassium and chlorine and magnesium. So we need to drink water, but we also need to drink some type of electrolyte beverage. That's a fancy way to say one of those sports drinks that you commonly see advertised by professional athletes.
So that's okay. Gatorade is okay for small kids?
Gatorade is perfect. What we actually do is we recommend that the Gatorade be cut in half with water. And so if you just take one bottle of Gatorade and turn it into 2 bottles, just by diluting it with water would be great. One of my colleagues I work with in the emergency room actually is a marathoner, and he uses a solution called Pedialyte. And most people out there know that Pedialyte is used for babies who are vomiting or dehydrated for some reasons, but it's actually great for young athletes. It's a perfect electrolyte that does not need to be diluted with water.
And they also sell Pedialyte pops. You put them in the freezer and it's frozen Pedialyte. Kids love them. Might be a good way to hydrate them as well.
That's a great point. And kids often don't want to just drink water. So cold popsicles or frozen juices, those types of things are excellent ways to get water back in them.
How about there's some sports drinks out there that don't have the same calories. They sort of Propel, some of these sports waters. My kids love those. Are those okay?
They are okay, but one of the things you want to do is look at the label and make sure that they do have electrolytes, sodium, potassium, calcium especially.
And it's also possible, isn't it? I've heard about kids being overhydrated. Can you get sick from drinking too? And I realize that's not as big a risk, but it is possible that you could drink too much stuff.
It sure is possible. So I guess the question is, how do you know? How do you know if your child is properly hydrated? And in the emergency room, we have all sophisticated tests to be able to figure those types of things out. But one of the greatest ways to tell if your child is dehydrated is by looking at the urine.
Well, so you just say, son, don't mind if I just go in there with you? Or?
Actually, Clay, that's exactly what you have to do. Often if the children are young, you can't really ask them what their urine looks like. But if you've got urine that is dark in color like this is really symptomatic of dehydration.
Okay, who peed in the baby bottle? I mean, that's not cool. You can't do that.
So this is not good urine.
Well, yeah, because it's in a baby bottle. There's never good urine in a baby bottle.
So this is obviously lighter in color, and this would be symptomatic of most normal kids who really aren't properly hydrated but aren't in any trouble.
This one is not normal. I mean, that's not fully hydrated.
No, this is normal, but it's not fully hydrated. So if you're out there and it's 95 degrees and you're really worried about heat, your urine should actually be clear. And we use in the business, we talk about urine being clear and copious. You know that your child is properly hydrated when they're going to the bathroom a lot. If they're peeing a lot, that's symptomatic that they've got enough water in their system and they're going to be good to go.
So if it doesn't look like this, you're in trouble. Hey, Nurse Mark, you're in the studio.
Okay, so actually, Clay,
you're insane.
There are a couple other ways in which we can test to see if you're fully hydrated.
You don't like my urine jokes?
One is checking what we call skin turgor. And so if can you guys see this on camera?
Yeah, careful with a pelt there. Don't mess with a pelt.
If I do a little pinch here, notice that the skin goes right back down. There's no tenting there. That's symptomatic that there's very good, you're hydrated.
I'm often complimented on both my hydration and my turgor.
So if you pinch and it doesn't go down immediately and it forms a little tent, that's tenting and that's a sign of dehydration. Another thing that you can do, Clay, is actually just press on the eyeball. And the eyeball should have the consistency of a ripe grape. And if your child is dehydrated, it's going to feel a little bit mushy and soft.
That's what my 2-year-old is doing. He's just checking his sister's hydration. I thought he was trying to be like Mo, and it turns out he's just concerned for her health.
I promise you I did not teach him that.
Okay. So these are different ways we can find out. So clear urine is an important test. We can also test for turgor and mush their eyeballs. And make sure that those kids are healthy and hydrated and having a great summer. Nurse Mark, thank you so much. It's been very informative. Really appreciate you coming in.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Hey, happy anniversary, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
23 years?
23 years, absolutely.
Congratulations, buddy. That's really impressive. 23 years of marriage. And he's a male nurse, so that can work.